Hello guys, majority of religion practiced in Africa are Christianity and Islam. But what do Africans think about Hinduism? And for me, well, after being here in India and seeing Hinduism, what do I think about Hindu temples? So I am Bertin and I am a Christian. I'm from Congo in Africa, and I want to share with you my thoughts about Hindu temples after being in India. So welcome guys, and in today's video I'm going to speak about what I see about Hindu temples as a foreigner coming from Africa, and then foreigners at the end of the video I will speak about how you can behave when you are visiting a Hindu temple, because most of foreigners also visit Hindu temples as part of tourism. So I will speak also of how you can behave or what you can do when you are visiting a Hindu temple. First thing first, you cannot be in India without noticing temples. Like, they're everywhere, something which is totally different in Africa. So I have been in some countries in Africa, and my first time when I saw Hindu temple was in Arusha in Tanzania, and it was not common for me to see Hindu temples everywhere. So let me give a brief history of Hinduism in Africa. So Hinduism came in Africa around the 19th century, when the British guys would come in Africa, going now with people who were practicing Hinduism as their servant. And from there, after British leaving Africa, those who came to Africa practicing Hinduism, most of them decided just to stay in Africa permanently. And because Hinduism is not proselytizing religion and was not propagated as Christianity and Islam, so it couldn't grow as Christianity and Islam in Africa. Anyway, now there are Africans who practice Hinduism, and most of them are found in the southern part of Africa, but also in the western side of Africa, especially in a country called Ghana. And for other countries in Africa like Central Africa, East Africa and other parts of Africa, it's practiced mostly by Indians or Hinduists who came from outside and then came to live in Africa. And for this case, most of them are the eastern side of Africa, in countries like Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. For the case of the central part of Africa, which is like the case also of my country is the country which have the most of Hinduists in the Central Africa, and it's just 100,000 of people who practice Hinduism in my country. So with all these, Hinduism is just not frequent in Africa. That's why it can be really surprising or something strange for an African to come here in India and see temples everywhere, because they're just not used to it. And it's the same case as for me. I never visited a Hindu temple until I came here to India. And then I want to share with you guys some of the things which I saw about Hindu temples. The first thing which I saw about Hindu temples is the architecture and the design, which is so beautiful. We can try, if we try to compare it to some of the buildings which we still have today, Hindu temples are one of the best architecture which I have ever seen. And the way they are made, as they are not 3D printed, so they involve a lot of works, and I imagine the people who make it should be really genius. It's just beautiful. For some of them which I visited, the design outside, it's just beautiful to see. Second thing which I have noticed is that they are not made to receive a large number of people at once. That's why they are usually small. So because for Hindu temples, people have to come, worship and then leave. Something which is a little bit different for Christians or Islam is that you have to come in a group and worship together and then go back at the same time. But for Hinduism, anytime anyone can come and have a place there inside and then leave after finishing the worship. Another thing which I saw is that they can be taken even in home. So don't get me wrong, I just want to mean that the same activities which can be done at the temple can be done also at home, once they have everything which they need. They can just get a proper place to put everything so that they can have the same things which they usually do as worship in the temple and do them also at home. That's why you can see in shops or at home, you might be invited in the house of someone. You can see in their houses all the activities which can be done at the temple can be done also there. And also another thing which I noticed, their worship is not only limited in temples. There's so many activities which can be done as worship, and among them there is also festivals. And these Hindu festivals are mostly done in India, but now they are being even done outside of India. For example, is Navratri and so many other festivals which you know, they are also forms of worship of Hinduism. So when you take part of them, you take part also of the worship. So then, if you want to visit a Hindu temple, what should you do? The very first thing which I learned is that you have to ask. You have to be cooperative. You might not be alone. Maybe you have your friends, or maybe you're traveling. Try to ask people who are there what you have to do, what you don't have to do. I think that that's the basic thing which you can do to avoid any mistake. And also, if you want to enter inside, just remove your shoes first, because it's a place which is respected by others. It's a holy place for others. So when you want to enter there, just make sure you remove your shoes first. Also, once you're already inside, you are not obliged to do everything of what they're doing. If you're a tourist, you're visiting, you can just visit and you can go out after when you're done with your visiting. And also, sometimes you might be asked money for donation or anything. It's not a must to give it. I'm not saying that you don't have to donate. You can donate, but it's not a must to give that money when you're inside. Yeah, and lastly, take care of the actions which you'll be having inside. Make sure that you have actions which you're going to do which won't be a scandal to others who will be there inside worshiping. So that's it for today's video, and it was a very good experience for me to come here in India and see how Hindu temples are. And there are a lot of things which I learned from when I visit. There are a lot of things which I see there which I really appreciate. Also, not only in the temples, but just for Hinduism, there are a lot of things which I've learned when reading or watching their actions and what will be happening. There are a lot of things which I've seen, and also it's made me to realize that we don't have to fear each other just for religion, or to have barriers among each other just for religion. We don't have to judge each other or make barrier among each other just because of religion. And lastly, because I liked so many things when reading about the story of Hinduism and many things about Hinduism, I would invite you also, if maybe you're a Hinduist, come and read also about my faith. I'm a Christian. You can read also if you want also to know about it. There are a lot of things which are amazing. Let's just avoid those barriers among each other because of religion, and remember that we are one. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I will be making many other videos later. You are welcome to this channel. If it's your first time, you can check also other videos. Also, I'll be putting the link of other Africans who are here in India who make videos also about India. I'll be putting the link to their channels in the description. And thank you so much for watching me. You can find me on Instagram or any other place which you want. Thank you for watching me.